Here.
Dukniak.
Here.
Toman.
Here.
Hale.
Here.
Guzekowski.
Everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. And will our new fire chief start us off, Mike?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we do the approvals, just one announcement. I'm sure everybody at council knows and within the city, but for those people that are streaming us, we do have a new fire chief, and he is with us tonight. It's Mike Kresick, a longtime member of the the fire department. So congratulations to you, Mike, on your appointment. Approval of minutes. Would everybody please take a look? The minutes of 10/15/19. There's no omissions, errors, or questions. I'll entertain a motion.
Kirkowski make a motion to approve the minutes of October 15, 2019.
Oracle second.
Roll call.
Alderman Lorik.
Aye.
Dukniak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Item 4 is a council proclamation for CRPS RSD Awareness Month, which is this November of 2019. Catherine, would you please read that in?
Certainly. Council Proclamation 1911 CRPS RSD Awareness Month, November 2019. Whereas complex regional pain syndrome, CRPS, also known as reflex sympathetic dystrophy RSD, is a chronic neurological pain syndrome that affects one or more extremities along with organs, joints, and muscles. And whereas the symptoms of CRPS RSD are often described as a continuous burning or throbbing pain, extreme sensitivity to touch or cold, swelling of the painful area, changes in skin temperature, color and texture, hair and nail growth, and other symptoms. And whereas there is no cure for CRPS RSD, treatments aimed at easing pain and improving function take the form of physical therapy, occupational therapy, nerve blocks, ketamine infusions, the Kalmar device, opiates, pain pumps, and spinal cord stimulators. And whereas RSDS-CRPS has been described as the most painful syndrome or disease, scoring highest on the McGill Pain Scale, 42, above such events as an amputation of a digit and childbirth. And whereas CRPS-RSD can affect both men and women of all ages, though it is much more common in women. And whereas the prognosis for patients suffering from RSDS-CRPS is generally much better when the condition is identified and treated as early as possible, ideally within 3 months of onset of the first symptoms. And whereas it is in the best interest of our citizens to educate both individuals and medical professionals regarding this debilitative disease and to promote research to accurately identify, diagnose, and treat this disease. Whereas the City of Oak Creek joins those living with CRPS, RSD, and others in the community to raise awareness about CRPS, RSD, and to call for further research regarding treatment and a cure for the disorder. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Daniel J. Bakevich, Mayor of the City of Oak Creek, do hereby recognize November 2019 as CRPS, RSD Awareness Month. Be it further resolved that I urge all citizens to observe the first Monday in November as Color the City Orange Day, dated the 5th day of November 2019.
Thank you, Catherine. Again, I'm very blessed. I'm not familiar with this particular disease because it has not afflicted anybody I know, but I'm sure there's people out there that this is quite an important topic to educate people on, and this is why we do those kind of things. So it's very important to get out there, be aware of this, and lend a hand in any way you can to support this cause. Steve?
Mayor, I think just for clarity and keep it the same in the 6th paragraph down, the words are kind of transposed with an extra S there. So as Catherine read it, CRPS, RSD throughout it was RSDS, CR. So if that could just make that uniform, I think that'd be great.
Good catch. Does anybody have anything else to say regarding declaration of the month? No? Nothing else? Motion, please.
Kirkowski make a motion to adopt Council Proclamation number 19-11 CRPS RSD Awareness Month, November 2019.
Oracle second.
Roll call.
Alderman Dukniak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Item 5 is consideration of a council proclamation for appreciation to our retiring Water and Sewer Utility Commissioner, Ed Sira. Catherine?
Council Proclamation number 1912, Proclamation of Appreciation to Edward Sira. Whereas Edward Sira began his tenure with the City of Oak Creek on October 1st, 2014 as a utility commissioner. And whereas Edward Sira has been a valuable member of the commission with the Oak Creek Water and Sewer Utility during his years of dedicated service by virtue of his professionalism, self-sacrifice, and work experience in the private sector. And whereas Edward Sira, as a utility commissioner, has provided immeasurable oversight to the utility in areas, including but not limited to the following: a $15 million increase in utility assets, the utility's participation as an award-winning member in the Partnership for Safe Water Programs, improving water quality at the water treatment plant and in the distribution system to a point that only few utilities in the nation have been able to achieve. Participation in the Government Finance Officers Association's Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting that has resulted in 25 consecutive international awards. And whereas Edward Sira has completed 5 years of service as commissioner with the Oak Creek Water and Sewer Utility. Now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and the common council of the city of Oak Creek, for and on behalf of the citizens of the city of Oak Creek, that sincere gratitude and appreciation be extended to Edward Sira for his years of dedicated and faithful service to the city of Oak Creek and the water and sewer utility, and that the best wishes for good health and happiness be extended to Edward Sira and his family for future years. Be it further resolved that this proclamation be spread upon the minutes of this meeting, and that the city clerk is hereby directed to transmit a suitable copy thereof to Edward Sira, passed and adopted this 5th day of November 2019.
Thank you, Catherine.
You're welcome.
Anybody like to say a word on Ed? Ken?
Thanks, Mayor. I've had the pleasure to serve with Ed for the past 5 years. As you're well aware, Dan, Ed was a long time planning commission member as well. So cities have been obviously privileged to have Ed willing and able to serve these many years. So he provided a steady hand as we obviously over the past 5 years have dealt with negotiations and the ups and downs of the Waukesha negotiation, Franklin renewal negotiations, and things with large capital projects there. So it's been very appreciative to have someone of his caliber and qualification and experience on the commission.
I'd just like to make a mention as well, Mayor Dan. In addition to his work with the water utility, Ed is one of those special people that Oak Creek has a lot of, and works so very hard at making our community a better place. Ed was involved as a board member at the Oak Creek Community Center. He was very involved with the Oak Creek Alumni Association and was the designer of the ticket booth area and the new concession areas that were put up at the Oak Creek Football Stadium, and is very involved at St. Matthew's Parish as well. So Ed, thank you so much for all you do for our community. Best of luck to you in the future.
Great, thank you, Rich. And just one last word on Ed. Again, I've had the privilege of serving with him as Council President Gell said on planning, and then he moved over to the Water Commission. Our Water Commission is a world-class thing, without a doubt. We're the best in the state at it. We have great managers down there, but this board is the oversight for it and provides the direction for it, and he served a great capacity down there. He will be missed, but we're going to thank him for his time, his talent, and his expertise in helping guide the city to the next step. So thank you, Ed. Appreciate all you've done for the city. Motion, please.
I'll move to approve Council Proclamation 19-12, a proclamation of appreciation to Edward Sira, retiring commissioner of the Oak Creek Water and Sewer Utility Commission.
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukniak.
Aye.
And item 6 gets us to our first public hearing. It is consideration of conditional use for a medical support service and physical and occupational therapy clinic in a multi-tenant building at 140 East Rawson. Catherine, would you read that in, please?
Certainly. Public hearing number 1 is to consider a request submitted by Linda Nimela, PT NDT Medical Support Services, Inc., for a conditional use permit for a physical and occupational therapy clinic within the multi-tenant building on the property at 140 East Rossin Avenue. Applicant is Linda Nimella, PT, NDT Medical Support Services, Inc. Property owner is East Rossin Avenue, LLC. Legal description there follows. Date of notice is September 25th, 2019.
Thank you, Catherine. Doug?
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Doug Seymour. I'm the Director of Community Development for the City of Oak Creek, and this is a public hearing on a request for a conditional use permit that would allow a physical and occupational therapy clinic in a portion of the multi-tenant building on the property at 140 East Rossin Avenue. Clinics are, the property zone M1 manufacturing, and clinics are a conditional use in that zoning district. The proposed clinic would occupy a portion, the northeast portion of the easternmost building, and there are 3 total planned. There's 2 under construction right now. Would not operationally affect the exterior of the building. There really is no impact other than just what happens on the inside. It's certainly non-impactful use. And the Planning Commission, in their review of this, considered that, and they have recommended to you, the council, that the conditional use permit be granted, subject to the conditions and restrictions that are also attached as part of your staff report. This being a public hearing, I would ask that anyone who has any questions or comments regarding the proposed conditional use permit for this property to please fill out an appearance form, and when called, please approach the microphone, give your name, address, and proceed to address your comments or questions of the Common Council. This public hearing is now open.
Thank you, Doug. As Doug said, we will make 3 calls. This will be the first. Second call. Anybody wishing to speak, approach podium, give your name and address, please. Third and final call. Anybody wishing to speak, please approach podium. We'll now close the public hearing and move on to consideration of that ordinance for a conditional use permit for the therapy clinic we just spoke of. Questions, council? Comments?
No questions, just a comment, Alderman Rich Dukniak, 3rd District. I know when the start of this development came up, there were some neighborhood concerns about what was going to go there. And Doug, you may answer the question. Is this the first tenant that the developer is dealing with currently?
You know, I wish I could give you that answer. I mean, a lot of times when these multi-tenant buildings are constructed and occupied, if the use is permitted in that building, many times we don't see that until the occupancy permit is issued.
Okay.
This is the first one that I am aware of, though.
Okay, but it seems to be a very nice fit
Yep.
for that development. So I just think it's an awfully good start.
Yeah. From a planning perspective, there really wasn't a lot of conversation. I think Doug summed it up the best. It's a very low impactful business coming in there, and nobody had any issues whatsoever with it. So. Steve?
Alderman Kirkowski, 1st District. Just like Rich did, once they started moving dirt over there, got a few inquiries about it, and it's since died down. It took a while to build it because they were doing brick by brick versus putting up walls all at one time. But it looks to be a pretty nice place. They got the parking lots paved, and I'm glad to see that the folks are going to start moving in.
Okay. No further comments or questions? Motion?
Kirkowski make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2950, an ordinance to approve a conditional use permit for a physical and occupational therapy clinic in a portion of the multi-tenant building C on the property at 140 East Rossin Avenue.
Oracle second.
Roll call.
Alderman Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukniak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Item 8 is consideration of an amendment to the official map affecting the right-of-ways for the properties at 819, 819R, and 901 East Drexel. Catherine?
Public hearing number 2 is to consider a proposal by Thomas Uckey to amend the official map for a portion of the west half of the west half of the north half of the northeast quarter
I left that for you.
of Section 16, mapped unimproved, rights of way, affecting the properties at 819, 819R, and 901 East Drexel Avenue. Property legal description there follows. Date of notice is October 9th, 2019.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, and I'm not going to repeat that as well. The property owner is requesting an amendment to the official map for these properties, specifically the future road pattern affecting this, and I'm sorry that the PDF is not cooperating here. I can reload that in the future, but just going through the summary. This began as a concept plan for the property to allow for the possible sale and development. However, the existing official map, and I can show you that. Go. The existing official map would have required or would have restricted the development potential of this property, given some of the connections that would have been made or would have been required in order to provide access. You can see that this property does not have access in and of itself to Drexel Avenue. And that was really restricting the ability of the property owner to market that to potential subdivision developers. So given that the applicant and his consulting engineer met with staff on a number of occasions to put forward a concept plan that would allow for an access pattern, a road pattern to serve this parcel, which would make it more marketable for single-family residential development. They have done that, and over a series of meetings before the Plan Commission have proposed a road pattern that not only makes better use of the property in question, but also ties into the official map street pattern and the adjoining properties. And that's one thing that we look at when we look at the official map amendment process is that, I mean, typically it's not the best policy to really make changes that benefit one property at the expense of the other. We're always looking for concepts in officially mapped streets that provide the best access to the entire neighborhood and really make things equitable in that regard. So based on that and based on, again, a number of meetings with staff and with the Plan Commission, the applicant has proposed an officially mapped street pattern that, again, allows for the use of this property, but also allows for the connections to the adjacent properties with minimal impact. And I'm hopeful that well, that is the street pattern. It does show. It should be showing up in the background of the aerial map for that. So I apologize for that. But I mean, a couple of things that I do want to bring to your attention is that, I mean, although this does show an additional road out to Drexel Avenue through this property, as you may recall, it's typical that we look for at least 2 points of access, and that potentially could occur through a new public roadway to the west of this on a property that they don't own or control. Also could occur through a reconstruction and improvement of the entrance road to Abendschein Park, which the city obviously owns and is immediately to the east of this. In any case, it's being proposed as a second point of access for emergency purposes only, that there be a public access to Abendschein Park through a paved, call it a pedestrian way, but it would also support emergency vehicles in the area, kind of in the middle of the parcel on the east end along Avonshine Park. And you can see that a little bit, and I'm going to go back to the existing official map. You can see where this future roadway would potentially, sorry. The officially mapped street runs along the current entrance to Abendschein Park. Obviously, that roadway is not a public street, nor is it designed to public street standards. That would have to be improved at some point in time, and that is actually the plan as part of the Abendschein Park master plan, is to improve that entrance to the park. And maybe at some point there's a possibility we can work with the property owners to configure it in such a way that would allow for a better access to that property as well. But that's a kind of a separate issue, and all those issues and additional issues would be identified as part of the actual subdivision plat review. So there might be issues, for instance, with stormwater, with wetlands, or with utilities. All those would be more vetted more thoroughly as part of the subdivision review process, which would be an offshoot and would occur after the official map was adopted. So again, the Plan Commission, they have reviewed this actually at a couple of different meetings, and they have, in recognition of the changes that were made and the testimony that was given at those meetings, have recommended to the council that the official map be, for this quarter section, be amended as presented. And this is a public hearing. Anyone with any questions, comments, please fill out an appearance form. Once your name is called, please proceed to the podium, give your name, address, and proceed to address your questions and or comments to the Common Council. The public hearing is now open.
Thank you, Doug. Once again, we will make 3 calls. This will be the first call. Anybody wishing to speak, please approach the podium, give your name and address for the record, and the mic is yours.
Sure. Martin Schulman, 840 East Drexel Avenue. I want to state my opposition to this entrance as redesigned and the future plans. I mean, if you were creating this off of Quincy Road, I could understand, that's supposedly in the future map. And I don't understand why, there needed to be 2 or 3 entrances into this subdivision. I've been here since '96, living on Drexel Avenue across from the Ookies, and they've been fine neighbors, everything. I mean, I have no problems with the neighbors. I've been here, I've watched all the development, the Drexel Street off-ramp, the Drexel Town Square, all of that. And there is no less than, let's say, thousands of cars that go down Drexel now. And I think everybody knows that here. It's not Rawson and it's not Ryan. It's Drexel. I've watched people drive right around me nonstop, no less than 6 cars tonight across the white line. Now, there's no turn lane into this, subdivision plan. Not like there is, for Quincy and Clement coming off of, Rawson Avenue going east. So I don't see that as, a good factor either. So I currently, with my kids, everybody, walk through those parks, walk through the paths, everything that we utilize over there. I don't see this as a good, option for me, obviously living across the street, for the number of cars that come down, Drexel Avenue. I'm assuming somebody has done some type of pattern changing, to see what the traffic's like. But obviously, since the Drexel off-ramp got built, there's numerous amounts of cars that go, down Drexel Avenue now. I've accepted that. I live here. I like Town Square. I don't have any problems with it. But I have a real problem with that, entrance right in front of my house and between my neighbors. And I know he stated his opposition to that, entrance too. So I would hope that there could be some kind of redesign or some other way that they could configure that into that subdivision.
Okay.
Yeah.
We want to take the questions now and answer them up. I guess I'll put 2 out there for you. I'm not aware of the connection from Quincy. Quincy's down quite a bit, and it would run right through our park.
Well, it's in the future plans where he talked about having a second entrance possibly, in between those houses. It shows up on those future plans on the website.
Quincy's a little east of there yet, isn't it?
No, Quincy's, west of my house. Clement is east of my house.
Or maybe I'm thinking of
Yeah.
Clement. Okay. Either way, the reason for the 2 entrances is in a subdivision, we require 2 points of access, and it's really comes down to our ordinance, and it's really for emergency vehicles, city plow trucks, things like that. We need 2 entrances in. Again, this is really just an officially mapped plot of what's going there. If this would ever come to fruition, we would need a traffic study done for maybe a right-hand turn lane to get in there. This is really just would you call it a development tool for the property?
It is, and I think that certainly the concerns, the comments are valid. Those things would be vetted in terms of the engineering of a potential left turn lane, right turn lane, just the geometry of that future intersection at the time the subdivision plat was presented to the Plan Commission. But I mean, certainly understand your concerns about the location of the road.
So again, when this would come through, much like when, I'm trying to think of a good example we did recently, like Brook Preserve, we took a look at the roads, where they came in, how they affected existing homes and things of that nature, and we adjusted accordingly. Whether right or wrong is debatable on everybody's point of view. But again, you'd get another kick at the cat at this. Am I correct in saying that?
Well, I mean, yes, but I think that certainly should the official map be amended in the configuration that's being proposed, there's a predisposition that is the way that the city would like to see the road network laid out there.
I mean, some lots may not play into it here or there, but I do agree with you wholeheartedly. Drexel is a whole different type of road these days, and that traffic study would have to go on to determine the turn lanes in. So, am I correct in that, Mike?
That's correct, Mayor. Yes, no question that Drexel is a lot busier road. All started with the interchange, and then, of course, that helped the development of Drexel Town Square, and everything's just kind of building on that. But we have been getting counts and looking at the traffic. There's complaints of speed and trucks. So we are on top of that, and we are looking at already implementing some measures that can maybe slow the traffic down on that road.
Kind of where we're at. So, thank you. This will now be the second call. Anybody wishing to speak? Third and final call. We'll now close the public hearing and move on to consideration of the ordinance to amend the official map for those properties listed on East Drexel Avenue. That's how you get around that. Steve.
Alderman Kirkowski, First District. Did I read somewhere in this paperwork that there might be a extension of a proposed street down to Forest Hill from here? Or was I looking at something else?
Well, the officially mapped street pattern does allow for that, albeit in some, it's not a direct shot down there, but it does make local connections that would
Okay.
ultimately lead to Forest Hill, yes.
I wish to echo the residents, and I'm sorry I was reading something when you gave me your name. I'm sorry, Mark. But everything he says about Drexel Avenue and Mike and such, and the mayor is correct. It's like the perfect storm. We had the interchange, and we have Drexel Town Square, and now we've got freeway construction, Pennsylvania Avenue, and all this other stuff that was going on. So Drexel Avenue has made for sometimes quite the road rally going east and west, depending on the time of the day. But the police department has been out there. I know that they have been. There were some changes to some parking along Drexel Avenue right there on the right where they play soccer. And as nice as those signs are, people were still parking there. But then I had people complain. I called the police, and within a day or two, they had a squad out there dealing with that issue. So it took time for those folks to understand they couldn't park there anymore. But and recently, too, Mike, when we had a sale or some sort of configuration of a house or something a little bit further east, we talked about a right-of-way that they had to have, which would be future construction along Drexel. I don't remember, but like you were told, this is just preliminary. What we think about what they may want to do with the land. I'm sure we are all going to be talking about or advocating for right turn lanes, certain issues that will help with traffic. Quincy is a little bit east, and it looks like on the future plans you might have a direct, a full intersection, so to speak, from a possible subdivision directly into Quincy. Clement's a little bit further east. There have been accidents out there. I know the police is doing their best with that street, so it's not a bad concept for the property, and we'll certainly stay on top of it to make sure that any potential development takes into effect all our concerns with Drexel Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Greg?
I was just reading through the minutes, excuse me, trying to refresh my memory from the planning commission meeting. I believe one of the concerns why it was held was adjacent properties that we're currently surveying or looking at developing. And does this new map address those concerns with that adjacent house?
It does, and specifically the street pattern of the property to the south, and hopefully this was amended in 2017 actually to allow for the construction of that roadway, and the proposal prior to this actually showed amended the official map so that the roadway would run through this new house. So to their credit, they did take a step back. They did talk to the neighbor to the south, presumably, and have actually come up with a plan that pretty closely aligns with the official map that's been adopted for that area already. So that does alleviate that concern.
Anyone else? Questions, comments? No.
Ken,
Yeah, go ahead, Ken.
you recall, or
at the planning commission, I don't remember, Guzzi doesn't think anyone for the houses right along Drexel that appear to be impacted by the change on the road pattern between the existing homes there. Was there any commentary or remarks from those folks in terms of adopting this pattern?
I don't think there were. We recognize that the existing home that's principally affected that is owned by the owner of this property. So it's really kind of running the road through his property, although it certainly would have impacts upon adjacent properties.
And do we have? I know it's to make the property saleable from or more saleable from a. Do we have any inclination or reservations at all about mapping us? Do we look at the economics or viability of crossing the wetland there, and in terms of is that a useful thing to do, or is that the developer's problem?
Certainly, it comes into play when we're trying to lay out access, and that's quite honestly one of the reasons why the official map as it exists today did not show anything crossing there, because it really would have been prohibitive to kind of require that. It's certainly something, if the property owner can make that work economically, to provide that, there certainly is an engineering solution to do that. Comes at a cost, but that would be the responsibility of the property owner to construct those as part of the subdivision development agreement.
So as a city, we're agnostic on the design.
We look at it in terms of how it impacts, essentially how it impacts the adjacent properties and the connection points. What happens internal to the property is of less concern, provided that we can assure that it meets our codes with respect to lot sizes, lot widths, lengths of the cul-de-sac, utility easements. So, I mean, the configuration, I mean, if it maximizes the lot volume on this, I mean, that within the property, that's fine. I think primarily staff and the plan commission is looking at, I mean, does this create unreasonable impacts upon adjacent properties?
And I guess realistically can always be amended again, right?
Sure.
That's all I have, Dan.
Anybody else? Chris, anything?
No.
No, nothing. About the only impact we had on some of the adjacent homeowners, we talked about right-of-way acquisition of sidewalk and how that would impact them going forward. I think that was about the only discussion, if I recall.
Correct.
Along the frontage there on Drexel for some of the property owners. But that's the only thing I can really recall out of it.
I mean, I think there's certainly was legitimate discussion by the commission about, I mean, the location or potential location of a new public street onto Drexel Avenue and how that probably wasn't ideal, but certainly with proper engineering, it does meet our design standards for separation from other public streets. It just, I mean, those types of things would need to be considered when they do the actual engineering of that. So, as we stated earlier, so that you're not creating an unsafe situation along that roadway.
Yeah, and that is where most of the discussion came from. Distance from the bike trail and distance between the roads on turning, things of that nature. That's why, if I recall right, a traffic analysis would be done. So, on Drexel. Yes.
Those are topics that we were talking about at Plan Commission, was really that this was, again, just officially mapping. So it's giving them kind of the overall look and view of what's going to happen there. It's a template. So that was really what the Plan Commissioners were going with along the way, is does this work for this area?
Anyone else? Okay, if not, motion on 9.
Kirkowski make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2951, an ordinance to amend the official map for a portion of the west one half of the west one half of the north one half of the northeast 1/4 of section 16 mapped unimproved rights of way affecting the properties at 819 819R and 901 East Drexel Avenue.
Oracle second.
Roll call.
Alderman Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Tillman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Okay. Item 10 is consideration, another public hearing, consideration of an amendment to a time of compliance for for an existing conditional use permit for a community-based residential facility proposed to be at 7801 South Pennsylvania Avenue. Catherine, when you're ready, please.
Public hearing number 3 is to consider an amendment to the time of compliance section of the existing conditional use permit for a community-based residential facility, CBRF, with a capacity between 9 and 20 persons on the property at 7801 South Pennsylvania Avenue. Applicant is Brian Schollenlieber. Property owner is Humble Habitat LLC. Legal description there follows. Date of notice, September 25th, 2019.
Thank you. This public hearing is being held with respect to a request for an amendment to the conditional use permit for the property at 7801 South Pennsylvania Avenue. Back in 2016, the council approved a conditional use permit which allow for a community-based residential facility, or CBRF, as they're referred to, with a capacity of 20 beds and 10 rooms at this location. And as usual with our conditional use permits, there's a clause in there that says you have to commence construction with a certain time period, or else you need to reapply for the conditional use permit. Well, that didn't happen, and they reapplied for a extension. They were granted a 12-month extension. This summer, and there are various reasons for that, and the property owner can comment on that if they so desire, they finally were in a position to apply for building permits. But by that time, the conditional use permit, the first extension of the conditional use permit had also expired. So this would be the second amendment to the conditional use permit for a time extension. Keeping that in mind, rather than extending that for a year and being in the same circumstances, staff has recommended, and the Plan Commission concurred in their recommendation to the council, that the extension be granted for a 6-month period. So no changes. It would still be for CBRF at this location, a maximum of 20 beds. It just gives them additional 6 months to apply for the building permit. Again, this being a public hearing, anyone with any questions, comments regarding the requested amendment to the conditional use permit for the property at 7801 South Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania Avenue, please fill out an appearance form when your name is called. Please proceed to the podium, give your name, address, and proceed to address your question or comment to the Common Council. This public hearing is now open.
Thank you, Doug. As Doug said, we will make 3 calls, this being the first. Second call. Third and final call. We'll now close the public hearing and move on to consideration of the ordinance to amend that time for the conditions and restrictions on the CBRF. We'll open it up to council. Questions, concerns? Steve, nothing?
Nope.
Nobody?
Other than having people ask me when is something going to happen there, there's been no people post anything really.
And I think Doug's synopsis was dead on with it. Again, I think 6 months is appropriate. They were given a year. It's been an extended process. If they can't get their things together in 6 months, somebody else can move on then move in. All right, motion.
Kirkowski will make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2952, an ordinance to amend the conditions and restrictions in ordinance number 2911 for a conditional use permit for a community-based residential facility with a capacity of at least 9, but no more than 20 persons on the property at 7801 South Pennsylvania Avenue.
Oracle second.
Roll call.
Alderman Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Item 12 is a proposed code amendment to multiple sections of Code 17.0313. And Catherine's going to be reading a lot of code sections here. Basically, it's for specific words, phrases in the municipal code and for places of assembly and religious institutions. Catherine, take your time with this one.
Got it. Public hearing number 4 is to consider proposed amendments to section 17.0313 sub A sub 6, 17.0314 sub A sub 2, 17.03171 paragraph 5, 17.03171 sub A 2, B to 17.300318 sub A sub 3, 17.0403 sub J sub 2, J, 17.0403 sub J sub 6 A, 17.0403 sub J sub 6 B, 17.0403 sub J sub 6 C, 17.0403 sub J sub 6 E, 17.0403 sub J sub 6 F, 17.0403 sub J sub 6 G, and 17.0808 sub D sub 1 D, and to create section 17.0315 sub A sub 18, 17.0316 sub B sub 19, 17.0317 sub D sub 17, 17.03171 sub C sub 41, and 17.1402 specific words and phrases of the municipal code regarding places of assembly and religious institution. Date of notice, October 9th, 2019.
Nice job,
Well,
Catherine.
well done. Thank you. Staff is proposing several amendments. See, we can do that in summary. Throughout the zoning code pertaining to religious institutions and places of assembly. Now, these changes are being proposed to, as it relates to, and closely aligning the code with the most recent federal requirements for under the Religious Land Use and Institutionalized Person Act, often referred to as RLUIPA. So specifically, some of the legacy language that's in our code, and recognize our code, is probably 20 to 30 years old in some cases. It's being updated to treat religious institutions more and similar to places of assembly as required by case law, by the federal law. And these sections were out of date. They're brought to our attention. These are things that we're doing in advance, slight advance of our total update to the zoning code, which is expected to occur next year, but we wanted to get these in place as a precursor to the works that's going to be done next year. And certainly these will be incorporated into the new code as well. Staff has worked very closely with the city attorney to ensure that the proposed code amendments comply with federal requirements. And again, are taking this opportunity to amend our code as a precursor to the more lengthy code overhaul that we're doing in 2020. Planning Commission has reviewed this request and they have recommended their approval. This is a public hearing. Anyone with any questions or comments regarding the proposed changes to the zoning code with respect to religious institutions and places of assembly, please fill out an appearance form. Once your name is called, proceed to the podium. I'll give you your name, address, and proceed to address your comments or questions to the Common Council. This public hearing is now open.
Thank you, Doug. Again, we will make 3 calls, this being the first. Second call. Third and final call. We'll now close the public hearing and move on to item 13, which is consideration of amendments to that ordinance. Questions, comments from the council?
Do we pay per line to have that published?
I'm telling you, she's earning her money tonight.
No, I'm talking about the paper.
Yeah, you're.
Yeah, I made my
Cost you an
point.
extra $1.50 to
Made
advertise
my
that one,
points.
right?
Ken, you got something?
Yeah, Doug, globally speaking, is there some reform of like kind of the red line? Is there significant changing in meaning or wording that you can think of or recall?
Well, I think the most significant change is that, I mean, we called out churches in a lot of our legacy zoning texts, and really the RLUIPA Act really provided guidance that churches, I mean, religious institutions need to be treated fairly and similarly as other places of assembly, taking the religious component out of it. It's really a place where people assemble, really no different than a movie theater or a fraternal organization, things that actually were approved or permitted uses in our zoning codes in certain districts. So it's really treating religious institutions on a level playing field given their impact, and that they are essentially places of assembly, no different from, you know, like I said, with movie theater or performance venue. So that really kind of just levels the playing field.
Thank you.
Seeing none, motion.
Gail will move to approve ordinance 2953, an ordinance to repeal and recreate section 17.0313 sub A sub 6, 17.0314 sub A sub 2, 17.03171 paragraph 5, 17.03171 sub A 2 B 2, 17.0318 sub A sub 3, 17.043 sub J sub 2 sub J, 17.0403 sub J sub 6A, 17.0403 sub J sub 6B, 17.0403 sub J sub 6C, 17.0403 sub J sub 6E, 17.0403 sub J 6F, 17.0403 sub J 6G, and 17.0808 sub D 1D, and to create section 17.0315 sub A 18, 17.0316B 19, 17.03170 sub D 17, 17.03171 sub C 41, and 17.1402 specific words and phrases of the municipal code regarding place of assembly and religious institutions.
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Great, thank you. And keep in mind, with that change, our administrative staff has to change every paragraph in that code book. It's quite an extensive job to do that, so good luck to the administrative staff there readjusting the entire code book that way. Gets us to 14, new business, and that's consideration of a motion for the plan of finance for $4,500,000 general obligation refund bonds and $1,150,000 taxable general obligation promissory notes. Bridget?
Yes, thank you. If I could, I would like to speak generally about items 14, 15, and 16 as they all kind of play together here in this process. So we have two bonds that we are bringing forward to you tonight. One is the refunding of 4.5 or an estimated 4.5 million of our remaining bond from our Department of Public Works building. So that was refinanced back in 2010. There's currently a little over $4 million left in principal balance and 10 years on that bond. That bond is also sitting at a 4% interest rate currently. So by refunding this bond today, or what's left of that principal balance, we have the ability to save up to or around $400,000 over the next 10 years off of that original refunding. So that is why Baird has brought that forward as a potential refunding for us to consider tonight, or for you to consider tonight. The second bond issuance is 1.15 million, and that is for the developer in TID 14. HSA has met their terms in the finance development agreement, which you have approved a while back. And so now it is time for the city to pay the developer grant that was agreed to in that development agreement. So we are bringing that forward tonight as a taxable general obligation promissory note. So what is a little unique about tonight and for our process, but not unique in general, Oak Creek has historically, and most communities do, they bring forward a debt issue and they sell the bond. So normally we'd be talking tonight about the plan of finance, and we'd be letting you know that at the next common council meeting, we would be selling the debt on that day, on that Tuesday. Baird is restricted to selling that debt, no matter what the interest rate is, no matter what the market looks like that day. They're selling that debt so that we can bring it forward to you for approval. What we are asking for with these two resolutions and items 15 and 16, we are looking to have you approve a parameters resolution. So given the interest rate market that we're in right now and the low rates, Baird has the ability to watch those interest rates. And if it's in a really advantageous day to sell the bonds, they can sell the bonds if we approve this parameters resolution. So Justin's here from Baird, and he'll explain a little bit about the parameters, what would make him say, okay, it's time, let's sell these bonds. But I just wanted to point out that it's, this is our first time going through a parameters resolution. The basis behind both of these bonds, I think, is very standard when we're looking at refunding debt that we have out there currently to save money over the long term. I neglected to mention that DPW refunding bond is currently supported by debt service levy existing. And then the new debt for the TID 14 will be supported by increment in TID 14. So with that, I'm going to kick it to Justin to go more in depth on the parameters.
Thanks, Bridget. It's great to see everyone here tonight. So in front of you, you have a packet. I'm going to run through that. I'll go through the timeline of these two bonding issues. We'll talk about the resolutions, the being a parameters resolution, go through the different details related to two borrowings, and then I'll just kind of briefly summarize the two illustrations at the back of the packet. So looking at page 2 of the presentation, the tentative timeline would be that tonight you would consider the parameters resolutions that are in front of you that are coming up in the next few items. This would give authority to Bridget or Andrew to basically sign off on the bond sale when we're ready to sell the bonds. So over the next month, we're going to be working on getting the offering document put together, going through the bond rating process, doing the marketing for the bonds. But really, instead of restricting ourselves to a specific council day, what we can do is say, let's look at the forward calendar as far as bond sales. What's the supply going to be in the marketplace for that particular week? Because we don't want to sell your bonds when there's 20 other bond issues going to be out there in the marketplace for potential purchasers to look at and evaluate. We want the focus to be on Oak Creek to get maximum exposure, maximum demand. And so that's something that we'll evaluate as we get closer to being ready to sell the bonds. There's also, we'll look at economic data. Is there news coming out on a particular day that we feel is probably going to be good news, which may spur the market to increase? Or, you may see the stock market increase, which means bond yields may also increase with that. We may want to get in ahead of that and lock in the interest rates before that news comes out. So there's different things that we'll look at as we're leading up to the bond sale, but essentially it just gives Bridget and Andrew the authority to sign off, and really we have to hit certain parameters in order to move forward with the bond sale. And so, like I said, if the market's strong, early December is when we anticipate potentially entering the bond market. That's when I would anticipate we would be in position, because over the next several weeks we're going to be going through the bond rating and doing that type of stuff. And then closing early January. So this 2010 bond issue that Bridget is talking about, that is actually callable April 1 of 2020. So we can basically refinance that within 90 days of the call date. So meaning that we have to close this bond issue at the beginning of January to meet that 90-day requirement. So that's the reason for let's do it in December and close in January. At the same time, we have the TID number 14 funding that needs to be borrowed for. So we're kind of doing things on a dual track to save on cost of issuance. If we're going to go through the bond rating process, we might as well have go through both of them at the same time. And so it saves administrative costs. It also saves on cost of issuance to go through that. So if you look at the left side of the page, at the bottom of page 2, the first issue, we estimate the size to be about $4,225,000 for the tax-exempt general obligation refunding bonds. Again, this is refunding for debt service savings specifically, basically just trying to reduce the interest rate from that 4% to a lower interest rate, which is what's going to capture the debt service savings on an annual basis. The structure would be maturing April 1 of 2020 to 2030, with the first interest being April 1 of 2020. So nothing's going to be changing with the current loan that's out there. The terms and structure are the same. It's just a lower interest rate. The call feature on these new bonds will be determined at the time of the bond sale, and the estimated interest rate around a 2.43%. That should be conservative. We should finish off better than that if interest rates hang in there from where they are today. Estimated savings on a present value basis, over $360,000. And so at the bottom, here are the parameters that we need to hit. Basically, the maximum interest rate cannot exceed 3%. The minimum present value savings has to be at least 5% savings in order to move forward, or we'll just wait for a better day. The other one is a $1,135,000 taxable general obligation promissory note. This is to fund the TIF number 14 projects. This matures April 1 of 2021 to 2029, with the first interest being April 1 of 2020, which will be covered by capitalized interest. This again will be callable to be determined as we go to the bond market. The estimated interest rate on this, because it's taxable, it will be a little bit higher, 2.70%. And then the maximum parameter for this particular bond issue is a 3.25%. So any questions on the parameters or that structure?
Alderman Dukniak, 3rd District. Again, I am no expert in the bond market. So the estimated savings, is that after the administrative and cost of issuance?
Yes.
Okay.
That factors in everything, yes.
Okay.
If by chance you can hit the minimum savings of 5%, say you get the 475, and it doesn't look like anything's going to change within that month period, what do you have till January 2020? Do you lock it in? Do you consult with the city and say, this is as good as we're going to get?
That would be a discussion we'd have with the city to say, what's the economic forecast look like? I mean, does it look like, interest rates are just going to continue to rise? What's the Fed doing? What's the trade deal with China doing? Because that's all a big factor in interest rates right now. Is you hear any positive news about the trade deal, interest rates are rising, stock market's rising. You hear any negative news, interest rates are dropping. So it's very volatile right now, and so we want to be in a position that if we're ready and we can strike and it's looking attractive, and maybe there's some good news to push interest rates down, let's get in there and lock these in.
But if it's looking unattractive and like we are not going to hit the parameters, we will have to bring it back to council with another set of resolutions. And we'll be able to gauge that timing wise, as we get into December, we'll be able to gauge where the market is looking at that point, if we are going to be able to be successful in this or not, so that we can still get a resolution in front of the council while we're in, to sell the bonds on a forced common council date, regardless of what the interest rates look like at that point. We would have to bring a new set of resolutions through.
But you would almost exhaust the parameter period
Right,
before that.
right.
Okay. Got it. Anyone else? No. Different strategy. And again, it's very creative from our financial department to look out of the box and do something maybe that hasn't been done before, a little untraditional. But again, that's quite a savings that might have been overlooked. So congrats to the finance department for that. Okay. We are on 14. Motion on 14.
Yeah, we'll move to approve the plan of finance for $4.5 million general obligation refunding bonds and $1.15 million taxable general obligation promissory notes.
Guzekowski, a second.
Roll call.
Alderman Dukniak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
And that brings us to item 15, which is consideration of a resolution, basically doing the same thing with establishing the parameters for $4.5 million of general obligation refunding bonds. I think Bridget made it pretty clear she was covering 14 through 16 on this.
Mm-hmm.
So any questions concerning the 4.5 and
I was just, if I could just add one more note on these, that you're going to see these resolutions saying not to exceed a dollar amount, and you see that the dollar amount in the resolution from our bond council is a little bit higher than what we've been talking about in the plan of finance. That number is not going to go above this 4.5. It could very well and most likely will be less than that.
Mm-hmm.
That's where Justin's financials are on the lower side. Our bond council is just trying to save everybody work by giving us a not to exceed amount. So also that's a difference from what you've seen in the past.
questions on 15 for Bridget? Anything? Seeing none, motion?
Kirkowski will make a motion to approve resolution number 12102-110519, a resolution authorizing the issuance and establishing parameters for the sale of not to exceed $4,500,000 general obligation refunding bonds.
Oracle second.
Roll call.
Alderman Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Abstain.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
And 16 is consideration of a similar resolution authorizing the issuance and establishment of parameters for a sale not to exceed 1.15 million general taxable obligation promissory notes. Bridget, any comment on this one? No. Okay. Any questions from the council regarding the last one? And keep in mind, this is for the Rawson Ave, 10th and Rawson project. 6th and Rawson. Thank you. Okay, if nothing else, motion.
Kirkowski,
Go ahead.
go right ahead, Rich.
Dukenyak
Share
move
the
to
wealth.
approve resolution number 12103-110519. That's a resolution authorizing the issuance and establishing parameters for the sale of not to exceed $1,150,000 of taxable general obligation promissory notes.
Oracle second.
Roll call.
Alderman Gale.
Abstain.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Great.
Thank you.
Very much.
Good to see everyone.
Item 17 is a resolution opposing the development of the Postal Service Processing and Mail Distribution Facility at 2209 East College Avenue, 6405 and 6469 South Pennsylvania Avenue, and 2000R East Birch Drive, and 1900R East Poplar Drive, and 1928 East Rawson Avenue. Andrew, clear this one up.
Thanks, Mayor. Was it very clear how the staff feels about this item in the staff report?
I think so.
Okay.
It didn't go very well for us.
I know we've been apprising the council whenever the media was apprising us of this project, so we all are on the same footing with where we were at your October, get the date wrong, the October 15th council meeting. You passed what I would call an interim resolution, really a plea for collaboration and cooperation and a chance for the city to review and comment at a minimum regarding the USPS's plans for a mail processing facility in the city of Oak Creek's jurisdiction. Following that meeting, as is laid out in the staff report, following that resolution, we did meet with a staffer at the Postal Service, a project manager who was not a decision maker in the process of getting to where we are today. And after that meeting, we learned a few things, and I shared those with the council, and I shared those with the media. And we, as a last-ditch effort, I guess the resolution this evening would be the last-ditch effort, but as another effort, we issued a letter to the gentleman who we spoke with from the Postal Service, really requesting a meeting with some key decision makers on this project in the real estate and legal divisions of the local post office bureau, or whatever they call it. We did not hear anything back regarding that letter. And one of the things, the key pieces of information that we learned in this meeting a couple Fridays ago was that the Postal Service, the contractor, was looking to begin turning dirt by November 1st. But that might have been November 4th. So this was a week before that date, a week or 10 days before that date. So certainly there was no intention of any meaningful public input, no intention of any meaningful or comprehensive city review and comment on those plans. I believe to sum it up, the Postal Service believes that they crossed those necessary bridges in 2008 when they put forward their original plans for a facility that was at least twice the size of the one we think they're looking to build today. So with that said, I did take a look, and talking with Attorney Carls and looking at the analysis that was done in 2008, this position statement of the council is really the last, shot across the bow that we can afford as a protection to our residents, our taxpayers, and our friends in South Milwaukee. South Milwaukee is doing a similar resolution this evening, as they did also partner with us on the interim resolution. But I guess we're disappointed as a staff, as is clearly laid out in the staff report, because this is bad public policy in our opinion. It is just bad form to not engage residents whose properties will be severely impacted and attempt to mitigate those. Now, we had agreements in 2008, comprehensive agreements. We talked about those at the last meeting to assuage and mitigate the impacts of such a facility to neighboring residential properties. Some of those may very well be honored, but we don't have any meaningful dialogue. We have not had any meaningful dialogue with the Postal Service on this property, and it sounds like that they're just going to go ahead and start turning dirt. So,
and I think the frustration lies even more in the fact that they don't even know what they're building. It's the design build process doesn't allow for, we ask them for plans. Well, we don't have any yet. Well, we expect we'll get our wetland permit sometime in January, but we're going to grade before then. So it's, while we appreciate the cooperation locally, we're not seeing that follow through nationally. And we absolutely cannot commit our support to a project that doesn't intend to honor the commitments it made nearly 10 years ago, or may commit to honoring parts of those on an a la carte basis. To the extent that we can impact that process, I think we need to be very clear that it is our expectation that the USPS honor those agreements, even though the dates have expired. And certainly federal law does allow them some preemptions to that. But given the cooperative process and the local process that they went through, and they're required to go through as part of the Postal Accountability Act, I think Andrew said it correctly, that it's just unbelievable that that they feel, or potentially it's our thought that they're feeling that they've gone through this process 10 years ago, and that suffices to meet the standard for meaningful public participation nearly a decade later, or more than a decade later.
We're concerned.
Say the least. Steve.
Alderman Kurkowski, 1st District. It should come as no surprise that I'm getting a lot of calls over this, and basically I've been telling constituents, even from Cudahy and South Milwaukee, you may have to reach out to your federally elected officials, because, Andrew, may I share our conversation we had earlier tonight with regards to this?
I think I know which one.
Andrew was updating me on the meeting that he had, and one of the comments was, well, do you have any plans? And this representative from the Postal Service laid out the plan and says, well, this was the plan from 2008. Do you have anything current? And he said he put his arm across it and he goes, yep, everything from that side is what we're going to do, which means, and no idea what they were going to do. And then, as Doug talked about, the Postal Service Accountability Act, where it requires public hearings, working with the local governments, and having input from the public. The comment from this guy from the Postal Service is, well, when it gets to me, all the lawyers and all the planners have already done all that, so I'm like the guy who's going to get started here. So basically, they're just ignoring everything they did back in 2008. So going to have a postal facility built on land that's now been rezoned or gone back to being agriculture, correct? And they're going to do. I did mention to Andrew, don't take this as somebody who's going to, can't. I'm going to take my toys and go home, you can't play with me type attitude. But I did tell Andrew, I says, well, if this is the attitude the Postal Service wants to take, they're going to do what they want, when they want to do it, how they want to do it, then I would expect that if they call the police department on something, they call the sheriff's department. It's a county highway. You call the postal police down in Chicago, let them come up and take care of it. If they want anything from the DPW, let them go private company, let them get what they want, because if they don't want to be cooperative, then I don't see how we should be cooperative. I'm hoping it doesn't get to that, but that's kind of the attitude I had about an hour and a half ago. Thank you.
Greg, Rich, nothing? Ken, anything?
I just had a question. I mean, is there any senators or U.S. reps that we could reach out to and ask?
Letters have gone out.
We received, the interim resolution was forwarded, and I believe South Milwaukee and Oak Creek had a similar distribution list as they could. We have a couple different representatives, but we had return correspondence from Style and Baldwin. And so we will again follow up on those, but we'll probably just forward this new resolution and then
I did speak with Baldwin about it in the last week, and she said she'd do a follow-up on it for what that's worth. And I reached out to Johnson's office as well.
Because the other thing is, like the roads or the one, because that's isn't it in a roundabout there?
Roundabout on College, yes.
So it seems like it's like right in line to be the entrance. So I don't know if that's the case or not, but how is that going to impact us or anybody? But
it's an odd situation. I think Andrew summed it up well, and Doug really layered it out there well. We're in an odd position. We had agreements in place. They worked with the city, the residential neighborhoods in 08. They were good with that agreement. Now they're coming in and they're saying, yeah, we did that process. We're good with it. We're going to move on. Well, then honor the agreement. That's what we're asking for. On the roads, on the building, again, if you alter the plan of the building, come back in here. Work with us.
There's no re-examination or any outlay of funds being considered in the scope of work for this project for public infrastructure.
Correct. There's no consideration going to our neighbors in South Milwaukee and Cudahy, who are going to be greatly impacted by the traffic that this facility will generate. Again, back in 08, they worked with the city for berms, lighting. They repositioned the docks back then to the west. We have no idea what's planned or what's going on there at this moment. So again, we're going to keep pursuing it through all avenues. I've had calls as well and talked to some very concerned residents. And again, we went out there. We consider ourselves good partners with developers, whether they're the Postal Service or private developers. And we work. We don't always agree, but we go for the best of what serves the residents and what helps serves the business. Really disappointed that the United States Post Office would take this point of view, particularly going forward with a building that's really not planned or designed appropriately for the site right now, as far as we can see. So I guess I'll leave it at that for now. Disappointed, to say the least, but we will keep pursuing avenues, whether federally, from our state people or anybody we can try to get on here. Again, we're in new territory. We've never really had this happen to us, at least in the time I've been here. Anybody else? All right, let's get a motion on, where am I? 17, thank you.
Kirkowski make a motion to approve resolution number 12106-110519, a resolution opposing the development of a postal service processing and mail distribution facility at 2209 East College Avenue, 6405 and 6469 South Pennsylvania Avenue, 2000R East Birch Drive, 1900R East Poplar Drive, and 1920A East Rawson Avenue.
Oracle second.
Roll call.
Alderman Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman. Gale.
Aye.
And that gets us to item 18, and that's an informational by our treasurer, Barb, who knew exactly what number we were on, I bet.
I did. All right, so the report on investment and banking for the month ending September 30th, 2019. Our beginning balance was $36,531,236.43. Ending balance, $34,114,076.75. Interest earned, $62,047.67. And that is a decrease of $2,417,159.68. Our activity for September, which makes up part of that decrease, was a TIF bond payment, TIF 8 bond payment of $174,300. TIF number 11 bond payments, $1,477,459.38. Oops, I missed my period there. And this is not unusual for the decrease to be at that point for this time of year, after tax collection is done. And we're waiting for that last state aid payment, which I believe is on the 18th of this month, until December's collections come again.
Questions for Barb? Barb, while I got you here, you're coming into your busiest time of year. It's going to be tax season, and your office gets very busy this time of year. So you'll get to make a statement, obviously, in December when you come back with this informational. You want to plug anything about what people, where they can pay, what they can do, and how it's going to go?
Well, it'll be pretty status quo. So we'll have the Tri-City banks again. We have 4 of them in Oak Creek yet. We'll have the credit card or e-card online or by phone. They could certainly come into City Hall. Am I missing anything? My brain's not on tax time yet.
I get it. I just thought I'd give you a head start on it.
Yeah, there'll be a brochure that'll come out with tax bills that'll have all that information. Information on the web.
Even with brochures and everything we do, there's always questions.
There always are. But if people read the brochure, they can certainly answer a lot of their questions. But they can certainly reach out to City too.
Great. Thank you very much. Number 19 is a council discussion as how to direct city staff regarding the scheduling of the 2020 regular combined common council meeting dates. So if you would go through your packet, there is an attached calendar there, and you can kind of read the synopsis of what we talked about with the clerk's office. Catherine, you want to summarize?
Basically, in the past years, council has fallen, depending on how New Year's Day falls, we have vacated that first week. Seeing that there's a lot of vacation time, it's very hard to prepare a council agenda the week prior. It doesn't fall that way in 2020, so that week we have not asked for a vacation or discussed with the mayor. In July, typically 4th of July week, we will vacate that. That meeting the week of July 4th, however, same thing. It doesn't fall that way this in 2020. The meeting would be on the 7th and 21st. So the mayor has requested a discussion on August 3rd, which is a Monday meeting. That's the night prior to National Night Out. So that would be a Monday meeting that potentially, that would be the meeting that would be vacated for 2020, if so desired.
In the past, we vacated 2, and speaking with the clerk and the deputy clerk, I felt that New Year's holiday was pretty much over by the 7th, and that we should really kick in the year with at least 2 meetings. It depends. It depends.
Probably.
I guess it's done for me. So that's why it's here for discussion. And then again, the same almost held true. It's an identical calendar in July, with the holiday falling on the weekend, actually. And then, of course, National Nights Out is always a busy time for the city, and particularly the clerk's office who assists in that event. So that would just leave us 1 meeting in August. which traditionally tends to be a little quieter, if I'm correct. So, it's all open. Anybody? Somebody got a vacation plan and this ain't gonna work?
I mean,
Yeah.
normally we would meet on that Monday before National Night Out, but I can understand the extra work that is, that's a part of that event. So, I mean, it's
Yeah,
not that big
and if we would have vacated the 7th or the 21st, you would have had an awfully long stretch in between meetings if business did have to be done. We felt the 21st to the 18th might be the traditionally slower time. Greg?
That ration, excuse me, with that rationale, is the clerk's office not very busy before election day? Or is April
no.
6th too busy of a?
No, that election day was brought up also, and actually, it's a very busy time for them. But given that we have a meeting on the 17th, we'd go 1, 2, 3. We'd almost go a month in between meetings there, from March 17th to April 21st.
And I think some of the thought for the summer is that there would be an extra week in there that potentially if council or the mayor were to be on vacation or perhaps staff, that would be a desired time of the year to vacate meeting if you were going to do it. I think that's the thought behind July and August.
But you're right, it's going to be a busy election season for the clerk's office. Any other discussion? If not, this is just a discussion. We don't have a motion going on for this. So, what's that? Just direction. So, I mean, we can direct them to put this in and we'll approve it going forward for 2020. All agreed?
Good by me?
Looks good.
We're good? Okay. We'll move on to item 20. Consideration of a resolution designating the official holidays for 2020. Please take a look at item 20. Pretty standard. It's the holidays we always observe. It's just when they fall. If there's no other discussion, Greg, what you got?
Just like to throw out there really quick, being that it's Monday, Veterans Day is a recognized federal holiday. It would be kind of nice to see Oak Creek be one of the first municipalities to recognize it as a holiday.
I would agree with
Because
you.
the state also does not recognize it.
I would agree with you. That can be brought up in consideration. We can talk about that.
Giving us the day off?
I think that's the direction to
We actually
discuss.
have a discussion upcoming in the next couple months on the personnel policy manual, which these are contained therein, so we can talk about that.
Swap another one. Huh? Which one do you want to give up?
It was Alderman Lorik's suggestion. Alderman
Which one do you want to
Lorik's
give up?
suggestion.
Swap. All right, I want to be in the room for that one. I was going to add one.
Mayor, your birthday is not eligible.
No, that would not be a holiday, but I would agree with Greg's sentiments. Veterans Day is
I'd
important.
second Alderman Lorik's suggestion, though.
We can bring it up
For what
in
it's worth.
discussion going forward. I mean, obviously, it won't work in this budget year, but going forward, we can consider. Definitely open. Motion on 20 then, if there's no further discussion.
Clerk will make a motion to approve resolution number 12101-110519, designating official holidays for 2020.
Dukenyak, second.
Roll call.
Alderman Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Item 21 is consideration of a motion to concur with the mayor's appointment of Robert Segal of 9333 South Regency Drive to fill the vacant Water and Sewer Utility Commission post. Discussion?
Thanks, Mayor. The guy looks to have good background for a member of the Water Utility Commission, so I actually look forward to working with him.
Keep in mind the applications come in and then we take the candidates and usually confer with the department manager as to who they think would be a good fit and blend with the board. And Robert was the candidate. So, all right.
I know Mr. Sigali from Little League, and he's a good candidate for the job.
Okay. Then motion, please.
I'll move to concur with the mayor's appointment of Robert Sigali, 9333 South Regency Drive, to the Water and Sewer Utility Commission for a 5-year term expiring September of 2024.
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Item 22 is consideration of a resolution to exercise special assessment powers of the municipal code by the city of Oak Creek for East Jewel Street and establish a public hearing December 3rd of 2019 for the assessment. So, Brian,
Good evening.
I was going to swap you with engineering. Just
I was going to see if Mike could take this for me, but
go ahead. Welcome back.
welcome. Brian Johnson, utility engineer. This is a special assessment project. The intent of this project is to remove the lift station that is currently on Jewel. It's ending its useful life there, and costs of fixing that are getting expensive. So we looked at the option of running gravity sewer. This is, if you think about the terrain there, we're making sewer go uphill. We're running sewer from Jewel Street up to College Avenue to tie into the MIS sewer that runs along College. That sewer up there is roughly 35 feet deep, so this is going to be a deep sewer, 18-inch sewer that we can run up through there. We have some environmental conditions we got to get through and some wetland issues to get through. This is just the intent to get that project started.
Questions for Brian? I'll just give a comment. Years ago, we were looking for a development in the yellow area that's shaded there to the north of Jewel Street on your map. Jewel Street, like Brian said, the topography, all the water really goes right down there. There's quite a drop off. There was a lot of water issues at the time when we proposed that. We have some age infrastructure down there. I can definitely see why this is needed. I think the water has gotten better there. MATC dredged out their ponds some years ago, and things have improved, but this would probably help greatly. Nobody likes an assessment, but it's one of the necessary evils to keep everything going the way it should go.
The good news with that is there's 4 properties that are affected by this, but only 2 owners. One of the owner that owns 3 properties is the bank that got the property from the previous development.
So, I mean, impacts, well, it's still an impact, but it's for people. So, any questions? Okay. Motion on 22 then.
Kirkowski will make a motion to adopt resolution number 12104-110519, a preliminary resolution declaring intent to exercise special assessment powers under section 3.200 of the municipal code of the city of Oak Creek for East Jewel Street and to establish a public hearing date of December 3rd, 2019.
Oracle second.
Roll call.
Alderman Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Item 23 is engineering, and it's consideration of a motion to concur with the recommendations of the Traffic and Safety Commission for areas along Shepherd Hills Circle and an area between Pennsylvania and Rawson Avenue and Pugh's. So, Mike, you got this one? Yes, you do.
Sure, yes. And Alderman Dukenyak, if you wanted to add anything, feel free. Basically, item A is just an installation of a sign, no parking, stopping, or standing anytime. This was proposed for a very short segment of Shepherd Hills Circle, which is that cul-de-sac road that comes off of Shepherd Hills Drive. very near the, basically right across the intersection, right across from one of the entrances to Shepherd Hill School. And there had been a history of one property owner, and I believe it is the property owner right on that corner, of concern for visibility of kids crossing that roadway with a car parked in that short segment across his frontage, which is basically his driveway, and then northward towards the intersection. And basically, there's room for one vehicle there, and not even really legally, because there's a dimension that is needed between the driveway and where a car can park, which I believe is 12 feet, and then another dimension from the crosswalk back to that. What it left a length of about 8 feet to legally park there. Well, you're just going to barely get one vehicle in there. But my understanding then is that there's a repeated call about, hey, this concerns me about the visibility of a car parked there, and kids crossing that road would cross traffic, potentially not see a child, and then you have an accident. So I guess the discussion was then, well, it's either it's put that sign up, it's probably the most effective, or it's PD having to be called and shooing somebody out of there, because that's not really illegally able to park there. They'll park there if there's not a sign.
Just one quick comment, Alderman Dukniak, 3rd District. I'm on the Traffic and Safety Committee, and the committee chose to take the option that is also in effect at the high school. Rather than placing a no parking sign, the person that was just waiting to pick up someone that was leaving, well, officer, I'm not technically parking here, I'm just waiting to pick up my child, and that led to the decision of the no standing parking, etc. And then, Mike, you were correct. We had discussions at the meeting that technically that area is not legally large enough for parking. Nobody really knows that, but now it'll be made perfectly clear by the placement of that sign. And then finally, the neighbors, again, they just gave us a history of near misses at that intersection that regularly happen, and we're just very grateful that nothing significant has happened in that area.
So the officer or the school district asked for this?
This was actually a request from a resident.
Resident on the corner? Okay.
Yep. Yep. And then there is one more item, Mike.
Right. So then the other item is repeated and increased calls about concerns with trucks using Pennsylvania Avenue, which is not a designated heavy truck route, and the signage that is there now, and this is Pennsylvania from Rawson to Putes. And the signage now is our standard weight limit, 3 tons. And as you are turning off of Rawson southbound, Drexel southbound, Forest Hill, you're met with that sign that currently says weight limit 3 tons. And I'm not sure exactly how the discussion went, but it was thought that replacing those signs with another a no trucking sign, which is basically a graphical sign rather than just the words weight limit 3 tons. It's a graphical, it's a truck with the red circle and the slash through it, no trucking. And there are some schools of thought that is a more effective way to discourage the trucks.
Steve? Alderman Kirkowski, 1st District. I'm assuming, Mike, that this is only going to be done on the Oak Creek side of Pennsylvania Avenue?
That's what the request is. There has been correspondence with South Milwaukee Engineering Department. We have not heard back from them, but telling them this is the intent that we are putting as a recommendation to our council. And, would you be considering similar measures on the South Milwaukee side of the street? We have not heard back from them yet.
If everyone recalls, they did this on Drexel Avenue. It's helped quite a bit. I mean, it's still a few that go through, but you're right. The sign is better than having somebody read for some reason. Visual.
World we live in.
And just to comment, this item was again brought up because of contact by residents in the area. Although there was nobody in attendance, we did have several calls from area residents noticing the increase of truck traffic in that area.
Okay. Any further discussion on 23? Seeing none, motion.
Dukniak moved to approve the recommendations of the Traffic and Safety Commission and approve the following. A, the installation of no parking, stopping, standing anytime sign on the east side of Shepherd Hills Circle between 9700 Shepherd Hills Circle and Shepherd Hills Drive. And B, to replace the weight limit 3-ton signs with no trucking symbol signs along Pennsylvania Avenue between Rawson and Putes.
Loracle, second.
Roll call.
Alderman Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorick.
Aye.
Dukniak.
Aye.
Item 24 is our license committee. I'd like to turn that over to Alderman Kirkowski.
Thank you, Mayor. I assume everybody has had an opportunity to read the Common Council report and the attached minutes. Anybody have any questions regarding that report? Okay, seeing none, Kirkowski will make a motion to grant the various license requests as listed on the November 5th, 2019 License Committee report.
Dukniak second.
Roll call.
Alderman Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorick.
Aye.
Dukniak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
And item 25 is our vendor summary report. Listed expenses are there. If you have questions, please direct them to someone at the front table. Yeah, Josh would be the guy probably to answer these questions.
It would have been weird to say everybody except Josh, though, so. Yeah, did he read his packet?
Just Mike, I do have one. Item 7, I mean, we're paying Payne and Dolan. I'm not sure if they had the contract on Wildwood. And Wildwood did get finished up yesterday. Big sigh of relief from the neighborhood. They were very patient, but they were behind schedule. Was there any financial penalty for them?
They were behind schedule, and basically the project scope changed dramatically from what they originally bid on, and we needed them to do the work that they did, and we've got some additional costs for sure, but the work was such that we kind of lost our legal deadlines. You know, we had so many working days, and that went out the window because the scope just really blew up, and so we had to deal with that. And yes, we took a lot of calls, and we took our lumps on social media. I will say though, even considering that, it wasn't too bad. I mean, the people, I give them a lot of credit.
Yeah.
We got calls, and we didn't have a lot of shouting. We had, frustration in their voices.
People were
and,
curious.
they probably sensed the frustration in our voices as we were, trying to inform them.
I think they really panicked.
But we really, it was one where it got reversed, and the contractor really had us by the throat. And, so we were just imploring them to get their subcontractors out there. And yes, we were very relieved to see them out there paving yesterday.
Yeah, I think they really panicked with the snow and thought, oh no, we won't get it done for winter. So, okay.
Yes, I had to, I apologized to DPW on Thursday as the snow was coming down, because we still had manholes and valve boxes sticking up, and I said, we'll get to it. So, thank God.
That's all I got. Any questions? Mike?
What's going on with number 12, Mike? Fifth Avenue?
That was an invoice that we got from the state. That was the project that was constructed. Geez, 2014, 2015, and that's their accounting. You know, we just we kind of get blindsided as we get some of these bigger invoices that are just so late in the process. So, and I think that they do just a general final auditing of the project construction costs, and and then we got hit with that one.
Catch that far back.
Yeah, I've totally forgot that, actually. Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay. No further questions. Motion on 25, please.
Gail will move to approve the October 30, 2019 vendor summer report in the amount of $874,348.77.
Kirkowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
And item 26 is consideration of a motion to convene into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State statutes to discuss the following. Section 19.85 sub 1 sub E to discuss the proposed term sheet between the property located at 7700 South Akia Way. B, Section 19.85 sub 1 sub E to discuss the proposed tax increment district number 12 finance development agreement between the city of Oak Creek and Highgate LLC for the property at 7869 South 13th Street. And C, Section 19.85 sub 1 sub G to discuss the claims related to the opioid crisis. Council President Gell.
Thank you, Mayor. Gail will move to convene in the closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State statutes to discuss the following. A, Section 19.85 sub 1 sub E to discuss a proposed term sheet between for the property located at 7700 South Ikea Way. B, Section 19.85 sub 1 sub E to discuss a proposed tax increment district number 12 finance development agreement between the city of Oak Creek and Highgate LLC for the property at 7869 South 13th Street. And C, Section 19.85 sub 1 sub G to discuss claims related to the opiate crisis.
Kirkowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
We will now convene into closed session and resume at its conclusion.
Session.
Kirkowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Okay. Motions on any actions.
Thank you, Mayor. Gail will move to opt out of the national settlement negotiation class related to claims the city of Oak Creek may have with respect to the opiate crisis.
Kirkowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
And 30, right?
Yeah, 29 and 30, Mayor.
Yeah.
Okay.
29.
29. Kirkowski make a motion to adopt resolution number 12100-110519, approving the tax incremental district number 12 finance development agreement, Highgate Development.
Kirkowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
And item 30.
Kirkowski make a motion to adopt resolution number 12105-110519, approving the Highgate LLC development agreement for the design and construction of public improvements for the development located across several properties at the northwest corner of Drexel Avenue and 13th Street. Tax keys are listed.
Kirkowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
And just before we adjourn, I want to thank the staff for kind of a late, long one tonight. Very well prepared. So thank you, everybody, from planning, engineering, our city clerk for the long renditions of the public hearings. And just a reminder, we're going to observe our annual Veterans Day celebration. We'll be at Fire Department Station 3 that is off 6th and Rawson. It begins at 9 a.m., so get there early. It's usually standing room only, and honor our vets. Rich?
Mayor, I'd like to add one thing as well. Thursday evening from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m., a public forum or presentation on the dangers of vaping will be put on by the Oak Creek Franklin School District. And I believe that our health department is involved in that program as well. And that, I don't know if anybody's awake to listen to this, but that will be held at Oak Creek Assembly of God Church, just north of 13th and Rawson.
Great, thank you for that information. Chris, you got something?
You want to just pump up the stuff, the mayor's turkey trot?
Yeah, will we have a meeting before then again? The annual turkey trek's going to take place Thanksgiving morning right here at Emerald Preserve. Please bring a non-perishable food item for those in need and spend some time walking with city residents around the preserve and celebrate Thanksgiving Day bright and early. That kicks off 9 o'clock. Let's call it 9 o'clock.
That's good.
That's right. There you go. With that, I think adjournment.
Kirkowski make a motion to adjourn.
Oracle second.
Roll call.
Alderman Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Thank you. Good night.
All right.